At Sunday dinner, my father-in-law threw scalding soup at my face and sneered, "That's what you get for being such a worthless son-in-law." The burning liquid blistered my skin while everyone sat frozen. My brother-in-law said, "He's right, you've always been an embarrassment." My wife laughed, "Finally someone's putting him in his place." When my 5-year-old son tried to help me, my mother-in-law slapped him hard. "Sit down and be quiet." My brother-in-law threw his coffee at my son's face. "That's for your father's weakness." My wife shoved me back into my chair. "Just sit there and take it like the failure you are." I said nothing. I wiped my burning face, took my son, and left. But before driving away, I made one call. Within 3 hours, my father-in-law was in handcuffs. My wife was being escorted out by CPS. And when the detective showed me the hidden camera footage from my son's backpack, we discovered this wasn't the first time. My son had been recording every family dinner for 2 months because he was collecting evidence for when daddy finally leaves. Hey everyone, I'm Ryan Matthews, I'm 34 years old, and I'm about to tell you the most painful, humiliating, and ultimately vindicating story of my life. This is about enduring years of abuse, one dinner that went too far, and a 5-year-old child who was braver and smarter than any adult in that house. Before we start, I need you to understand something. I stayed in an abusive situation for years because I thought I could protect my son better from the inside. I was wrong. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave. And sometimes a child sees the truth more clearly than any adult. Let me take you back to the beginning. I met my wife, Catherine, 7 years ago. She was beautiful, ambitious, from a wealthy family. Her father, Robert Chen, owned a successful commercial real estate company. Her mother, Patricia, was a former socialite who spent her time managing the family's image. Catherine's younger brother, Brandon, was 28, spoiled, entitled, working at his father's company in a do-nothing position. I came from nothing. I grew up in foster care, worked my way through community college, and was managing a small marketing firm when I met Catherine. She seemed fascinated by my different background. What I didn't realize was that she saw me as a project. A charity case. The warning signs were there from the start. Her family made comments about my clothes, my education, my lack of sophistication. But Catherine would defend me, and I thought that meant something. We got married after a year of dating. Catherine was pregnant with our son, Ethan. I thought starting a family would change things, that becoming a father would earn me respect from her family. It got worse. After Ethan was born, Catherine's personality changed. Or maybe she just stopped hiding who she really was. She became critical, dismissive, cruel. She'd mock me in front of her family. She'd joke about how I wasn't good enough for her. Her family joined in. Sunday dinners at the Chen house became torture sessions. They'd critique everything, my job, my clothes, how I raised Ethan, how I spoke, how I ate. "Ryan, you hold your fork like a peasant. Ryan, you let Ethan watch too much TV because you're too lazy to engage with him properly. Ryan, your marketing business is failing. Why don't you just work for Robert? Oh right, because you're too proud." I endured it because I loved my son. I thought if I could just be good enough, work hard enough, prove myself, they'd accept me. But it was never enough. Catherine started staying out late. She'd come home at 2 a.m., sometimes not until morning. When I asked where she'd been, she'd say, "None of your business. I need space from you." I suspected she was cheating. I had no proof, but the signs were there. She'd changed her phone password. She'd shower immediately when she got home. She'd smile at texts and hide her screen. But when I tried to talk about it, her family would gang up on me. "You're being paranoid and controlling. Catherine deserves friends and a social life. You're lucky she married you. Stop complaining." So I stopped bringing it up. The abuse escalated slowly. A shove here. A slap there. Catherine would get angry and push me, hit me, throw things. Once she threw a plate at my head and cut my forehead. She told her family I'd walked into a cabinet. They believed her. Or they didn't care. Ethan saw everything. My sweet, sensitive 5-year-old boy watched his mother treat his father like garbage. Watched his grandparents mock and belittle me. And I could see it affecting him. He became anxious. Quiet. He'd flinch when people raised their voices. He'd ask me, "Daddy, why is mommy always mad at you?" I didn't have a good answer. 3 months ago, things reached a breaking point. Catherine announced she wanted a divorce. But not because she wanted to leave, because she wanted the house, full custody of Ethan, and alimony. "I'm going to take everything," she said calmly. "You'll be lucky if you get supervised visits with Ethan. My family's lawyers will destroy you." I was terrified. I had no money for a good lawyer. Her family had resources I couldn't compete with. But I started documenting everything. I kept a journal. I took photos of bruises when Catherine hit me. I recorded arguments. And I tried to protect Ethan as much as I could. Last Sunday was our regular family dinner at the Chen house. Catherine insisted we go despite the divorce proceedings. We maintain appearances until the divorce is final. Don't embarrass me. I brought Ethan. He was quiet in the car, clutching his little dinosaur backpack. He never went anywhere without that backpack. It had his toys, his comfort items. We arrived at 6 p.m. The whole family was there: Robert, Patricia, Brandon, and Brandon's girlfriend, Ashley. Dinner started normally. Well, normally for them. Passive-aggressive comments about my shirt. Is that the same one you wore last time? My job, still struggling with that little marketing business? My parenting. Ethan looks thin. Are you feeding him properly? I kept my head down. Ate my food. Tried to get through it. Then Robert asked about the divorce. So Catherine tells us you're refusing to cooperate with reasonable terms. I'm not refusing anything, I said quietly. I just want fair custody of my son. Fair? Patricia laughed. What's fair is Ethan living with his mother full-time. You can visit on weekends if you behave. He's my son too. Barely, Brandon muttered. You're barely qualified to be a father. Catherine jumped in. Ryan's been difficult about everything. The house, the custody, the support payments. He's being selfish as usual. I'm not being selfish. I'm trying to protect my relationship with my son. Robert slammed his hand on the table. You don't get to protect anything. You're nothing. You came from nothing. You have nothing. Catherine made a mistake marrying you, and now she's correcting it. I felt Ethan's small hand grab mine under the table. He was scared. Please, I said, can we not do this in front of Ethan? Do what? Patricia asked. Tell the truth. Ethan needs to know what kind of weak man his father is. Then it happened. Robert picked up his bowl of hot soup, French onion soup, still steaming, and threw it directly at my face. The scalding liquid hit my cheeks, my forehead, my neck. The pain was instant and excruciating. I gasped, my skin burning, my eyes tearing up. No one moved. They all just stared. Robert sneered at me. That's what you get for being such a worthless son-in-law. For thinking you could ever be part of this family. I couldn't speak. My face was on fire. Soup was dripping down my shirt, burning my chest. Brandon started laughing. Holy shit, Dad. That was perfect. Catherine was smiling. Finally. Someone putting him in his place. Maybe now he'll understand how things work. I tried to stand, to get to the bathroom, to do something about the burning. Ethan jumped up. Daddy. Daddy, are you okay? He grabbed a napkin and tried to wipe my face. His little hands were shaking. Patricia reached over and slapped Ethan. Hard. Across the face. Sit down, she snapped. Don't touch him. Just sit down and be quiet. Ethan stumbled back, crying. The red mark on his cheek was instant. Something in me broke. Not into rage. Into clarity. This was never going to get better. These people would hurt my son. They already were hurting him. I stood up, slowly. My face was still burning. Brandon stood too. He picked up his coffee cup, still full of hot coffee, and threw it at Ethan. The coffee hit my son's face and chest. Ethan screamed. That's for your father's weakness, Brandon said. Maybe you'll learn not to be pathetic like him. Catherine shoved me back into my chair. Hard. Just sit there and take it, Ryan. Like the failure you are. This is what you deserve. I looked at my son. 5 years old. Coffee-burned face. Crying. Looking at me to save him. And I finally did what I should have done years ago. I stood up again. Picked up Ethan gently. We're leaving. You walk out that door and you'll never see him again, Robert threatened. I didn't respond. I carried Ethan to the car. Strapped him into his car seat. Got in the driver's seat. My face was blistered. Red. Swelling. Ethan's face was red too. We were both burned, humiliated, broken. But before I drove away, I pulled out my phone and made one call. 911. My father-in-law just assaulted me and my 5-year-old son. We've both been burned with hot liquids. We need police and an ambulance. I gave them the address. Then I drove to the hospital. At the ER, they treated our burns. 2nd-degree burns on my face and chest. 1st-degree burns on Ethan's face. The doctors took photos. Asked questions. Called the police. A detective arrived. Detective Lisa Rodriguez. Mr. Matthews, can you tell me what happened? I told her everything. The soup. The slap. The coffee. The threats. Do you have any evidence beyond your testimony? Just our burns. And my son is a witness. She nodded, taking notes. Then she looked at Ethan. Hey buddy. Can I ask you some questions? Ethan, brave little boy, nodded. He was clutching his dinosaur backpack. What's in your backpack? Detective Rodriguez asked gently. My toys. And my tablet. And my recorder. Recorder? Ethan opened his backpack and pulled out a small digital recorder. The kind kids use to record themselves singing or telling stories. I've been recording dinners, Ethan said quietly. Because I wanted evidence for when Daddy finally leaves Mommy. My heart stopped. Ethan, what? He looked at me with those big, sad eyes. You always told me to tell the truth and to help people who are being hurt. Grandpa and Grandma and Uncle Brandon always hurt you. So I've been recording it. So you'd have proof. Detective Rodriguez's eyes widened. Can I see that recorder? Ethan handed it over. There's 8 recordings. Every Sunday dinner for 2 months. The detective played one. We heard everything. The insults. The mockery. And on one recording from 3 weeks ago, we heard Catherine slapping me and calling me useless. We heard Robert threatening to beat respect into me. We heard Patricia calling me trash that should have stayed in the gutter. Jesus, Detective Rodriguez muttered. This is extensive documentation of ongoing domestic abuse. I didn't know he was recording, I said, tears in my eyes. Ethan, why didn't you tell me? Because you said we couldn't afford a lawyer. But on TV, lawyers always need evidence. So I made evidence. A 5-year-old child had done what I couldn't do. He'd protected us both. Detective Rodriguez smiled sadly at Ethan. You did something very brave. You helped your dad a lot. She took custody of the recorder. Then she went to the Chen house with backup. They arrested Robert for assault with a weapon, the soup counted as a weapon. They arrested Patricia for child abuse, the slap. They arrested Brandon for assault on a minor, the coffee throw. Catherine was taken in for questioning. But it didn't stop there. When CPS got involved, they listened to all 8 recordings. They heard years of verbal abuse, threats, physical violence. They heard Catherine admitting she wanted to take Ethan away from me just to hurt Ryan. They opened an investigation. Emergency custody hearing was scheduled. At the hearing 3 days later, my lawyer, provided by legal aid, played the recordings for the judge. The judge listened to 2 months of the Chen family abusing me, threatening me, and doing it all in front of my son. Catherine's expensive lawyer tried to argue the recordings were inadmissible. The judge shut him down. A minor child, acting on his own initiative to protect his father, is not violating any wiretapping laws. These recordings stand. The judge awarded me temporary full custody of Ethan. Catherine got supervised visitation only, and only if she completed anger management and parenting classes. Robert, Patricia, and Brandon all faced criminal charges. Robert was convicted of assault and served 90 days in jail plus probation. Patricia was convicted of child abuse and got probation plus mandatory counseling. Brandon took a plea deal, 60 days in jail and community service. But the real justice came in the divorce proceedings. With the recordings as evidence, Catherine's claims that I was an unfit father fell apart. Her claims that she deserved full custody were laughable given that she participated in and encouraged abuse of both me and Ethan. The judge awarded me primary custody. Catherine got every other weekend, supervised for the first year. She had to pay child support. And she got nothing from our marital assets because the abuse evidence proved she created a hostile and dangerous environment. Her family's reputation was destroyed. Robert's business suffered when clients heard about the assault conviction. Patricia was quietly removed from her charity boards. Brandon was fired from his father's company. But the biggest consequence? Ethan's recordings went viral. Someone, I don't know who, leaked them online. The audio of a wealthy family systematically abusing and assaulting a man for years, all while a little boy recorded it to protect his dad, spread everywhere. The Chen family became infamous. Soup Attack family they were called. Their names, their faces, their business, all exposed. Catherine tried to salvage her reputation. She posted on social media claiming she was the victim, that I'd manipulated Ethan, that the recordings were taken out of context. No one believed her. The recordings were too clear. Her laughter when soup hit my face. Her encouragement when her brother threw coffee at our son. She deleted her accounts after a week of brutal comments. Now, 6 months later, Ethan and I are healing. We live in a small apartment across town. We're in therapy, both individual and family therapy. We're learning how to process trauma and rebuild trust. Ethan still has his dinosaur backpack. But he doesn't record dinners anymore. He doesn't need to. We're safe now, right Daddy? He asks sometimes. We're safe, I tell him. You made sure of that. Catherine rarely sees him. She shows up to supervised visits inconsistently. When she does come, Ethan is polite but distant. The bond is broken. She destroyed it herself. Her family tried to reach out once. Robert sent a letter from jail. An apology that was really just excuses. I burned it without reading it to Ethan. Sometimes people ask me if I'm angry. If I hate them. I don't have the energy to hate them. I'm too busy loving my son and building a life where he feels safe. But I'll never forget what they did. And thanks to Ethan's recordings, neither will anyone else. My son, at 5 years old, was braver than I'd been in 6 years of marriage. He saw that I was being hurt and he did something about it. He collected evidence. He protected us both. I'm learning from him. About courage. About standing up for yourself. About refusing to accept abuse as normal. We're okay now. More than okay. We're happy. We make pancakes on Sunday mornings instead of going to family dinners. We play in the park. We laugh without fear. And Ethan? He's starting to smile more. Sleep better. Act like a kid instead of a traumatized witness. He told me last week, "Daddy, I'm glad we left." Me too, buddy. Me too. Look, I know this story is hard to hear. Domestic violence against men isn't talked about enough. People assume men can't be victims, that we should just fight back or be a man. But abuse doesn't work like that. It breaks you down slowly until you believe you deserve it. Until you think there's no way out. I stayed because I thought I was protecting my son. But staying was hurting him. He was learning that love looks like cruelty. That family means enduring violence. If I'd left earlier, he wouldn't have those memories. Those scars. But I also wouldn't have learned what he's capable of. The strength in that little boy who decided to save his father because his father couldn't save himself. So here's what I learned. Your kids are watching. They see how you're treated. They internalize whether you fight back or accept it. And sometimes, they'll be braver than you are. Trust them. Protect them. And when they show you the evidence you need to leave, don't waste it. The Chen family thought they could abuse me forever. They thought their money and status made them untouchable. They thought a man from nothing had no power against them. They were wrong. One scared man and one brave child with a recorder brought them all down. That's it. That's what happened. We survived. We got out. We're building something better. And we're never going back.